Tonight, breaking news on several stories. New York's Attorney General indicted tonight by the Justice Department. Also just in, U.S. troops will be sent to Israel now to help monitor the Gaza ceasefire deal. And the nor'easter building off the East Coast tonight. First, just a short time ago, New York's Attorney General Letitia James, one of President Trump's fiercest opponents, indicted. Just weeks after former FBI Director James Comey was indicted, and after the president publicly called on his Attorney General to take action, singling out Comey and Letitia James by name. Also just in tonight, the U.S.-led peace plan agreed to by Israel and Hamas. The celebrations in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. Families waiting for 2 years, reacting to the news that the hostages could be released by early next week. In Gaza tonight, children cheering with excitement. And this evening, the U.S. now saying it will send hundreds of troops to Israel to monitor that ceasefire. Here at home, tracking what could be the first nor'easter of the season, threatening the East Coast with damaging winds and potential flash flooding. The Carolinas right up into the Northeast, from New York up to Boston. Lee Goldberg standing by with the forecast. Tonight, the government shutdown, day 9. House Speaker Mike Johnson confronted on live TV by a woman saying she's the wife of a military service member who isn't getting paid. You will hear the moment and how the speaker responds. 2 high-stakes legal showdowns tonight challenging President Trump's authority to deploy National Guard troops into American cities, Chicago and Portland. Tonight, 500 troops now on the ground in the Chicago area. This evening, the case making national headlines, the mother accused of trying to poison the father of her child, what she allegedly poured into his wine, and what she now claims. The images coming in, the armed standoff, 2 officers shot and wounded. Look at this tonight, a young child running on the interstate at night, nearly struck by an SUV. What an officer did to save this child. And this question tonight, if you drove past this home, would you call the fire department? That's the question a whole town is asking.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight with breaking news here for the second time in 2 weeks. And at the urging of President Trump, one of his fiercest opponents has been indicted. This time, New York's Attorney General Letitia James, late today indicted, now facing 1 count of bank fraud. As Attorney General, she'd been a longtime critic of President Trump's. Her indictment comes just weeks after former FBI Director James Comey was indicted. Comey was in court pleading not guilty just 24 hours ago. These indictments come after the president publicly called on his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, to take action, singling out James Comey and Letitia James by name in a social media post. Tonight, Letitia James now indicted. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas, leading us off.
Tonight, New York Attorney General Letitia James becomes the second political enemy of President Trump to face indictment, just 2 weeks after former FBI Director James Comey was charged with lying to Congress. The Justice Department announcing that James is charged with 1 count of bank fraud, which carries a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison and up to $1 million fine. Prosecutors allege that James misled a bank in order to get a more favorable term on a loan, specifically claiming that property was going to be a residence when, according to prosecutors, it was going to be rented for profit. Tonight, James firing back.
These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost.
The indictment was sought by newly picked U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, Lindsay Halligan, one of the president's former personal attorneys with no prosecutorial experience. She did so just weeks after President Trump forced out her predecessor, Eric Siebert, after he refused to indict James or former Director Comey. The indictments come just weeks after President Trump, in a social media post, publicly called on Attorney General Pam Bondi to bring charges against James and Comey, writing, "They're all guilty as hell, but nothing's going to be done."
It looks to me like she's very guilty of something.
James has been a target of the president since she won a $500 million civil fraud case that held Trump liable for overvaluing his golf courses, buildings, and a Trump Tower apartment. David, sources tell ABC News that today's indictment of James on the heels of those charges against former FBI Director Comey are meant to send a message. Everyone on the president's enemies list should be on notice that the charges are likely coming. David?
Pierre Thomas leading us off with the breaking news tonight. Pierre, thank you. Also developing at this hour, of course, this historic ceasefire we learned of as we were on the air last night here. President Trump's plan to end Israel's war with Hamas. Moments ago, the Israeli government now ratifying the deal, meaning the ceasefire is expected to take immediate effect. We have also just learned tonight that U.S. troops will now be sent to Israel to now help monitor the Gaza ceasefire. Mary Bruce at the White House tonight.
Tonight in Israel, an outpouring of joy. Jubilation over the deal that is expected to bring home the remaining hostages who have been prisoners of Hamas for more than 2 years.
This is such a happy moment for us, the families of the hostages. Such a happy moment for all Israelis and for all the Middle East.
In Gaza, too, some hope amid the devastation. A sense of relief. The war has claimed the lives of 67,000 Palestinians, including 20,000 children, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. At the White House, President Trump calling it a, quote, momentous breakthrough.
We ended the war in Gaza and really, on a much bigger basis, created peace. And I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace.
A huge triumph for Trump, who brokered the deal, negotiated by his envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner. Right now, what's been agreed to is Phase 1. Hamas set to release the 20 living hostages early next week, and ultimately the remains of 28 others who perished. In return, Israel agreeing to release more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners and to pull back its troops in Gaza to an agreed-upon line. The big question, what comes next? The president's 20-point plan had called for Hamas to disarm and for Gaza to be governed by an apolitical Palestinian committee overseen by an international board of peace with Trump as its chairman.
What guarantees Hamas disarms and that Israel doesn't resume bombing once the hostages are released?
The first thing we're doing is getting our hostages back, okay? And that's what people wanted more than anything else. They wanted these hostages back that have lived in hell like nobody has ever even dreamt possible. And after that, we'll see.
Months ago, Trump said the Palestinians would have to leave Gaza. His 20-point plan took a different approach, saying no one will be forced to leave. We will encourage people to stay. Today, I asked him if that still holds.
Can you promise Palestinians they will be able to stay?
Well, they know exactly what we're doing. We're going to create something where people can live. You can't live right now in Gaza. The place is it's a horrible situation. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So yeah, we're going to create better conditions for people.
The answer leading to more questions. So later, I asked for clarification.
Can you confirm that as Gaza is rebuilt, that no one will be forced to leave?
Yeah, nobody's going to be forced to leave. No, it's just the opposite. No, we're not looking to do that at all.
In Gaza tonight, hope, but also uncertainty. I hope this happiness will be fulfilled and the ceasefire deal will last, this displaced mother says. We don't want them to take their hostages and then return to the war.
David, there is cautious optimism tonight about what is a very significant step towards peace. And we have just learned that the U.S. is sending 200 troops to Israel to monitor this ceasefire from there, and that President Trump himself is traveling to the region in the coming days. David.
Mary Bruce back with us tonight. Mary, thank you. We're also tracking a major storm now brewing, what could be the first nor'easter of the season set to hit the east from the Carolinas right up through New York and Boston, threatening the East Coast with damaging winds and the potential for flash flooding as it travels up the coast. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg from WABC here in New York. Hi, Lee.
Hi, David. It's the cold calm before that storm here in New York. There's just more and more evidence for a high-impact nor'easter along the East Coast this weekend. It starts to take shape along the southeast coast tomorrow, and then Saturday is your day in the Carolinas. Very heavy rain, gusty winds, some flash flooding, and beach erosion. The storm only gets stronger as it inches up the coast toward the Delmarva, the Mid-Atlantic, and into the northeast. We're nailing down the track, but what we know is the brunt is happening along the coast. 60-mile-per-hour winds, 1 to 2 inches or more of rainfall. coastal flood watches all the way from Delaware to Massachusetts, 2 to 3 feet of inundation possible and beach erosion. Out ahead of this storm, coldest air of the season. We're looking at sub-freezing temperatures from Virginia to New England, 20s and 30s. Now we get milder over the next couple of afternoons. We'll have to be preparing Friday into Saturday for the storm. David?
All right, for sure. And Lee Goldberg, you'll stay right here with us. Thank you. Tonight, the government shut down day 9. House Speaker Mike Johnson was confronted on live TV today by a woman saying she's the wife of a military service member who isn't getting paid. You'll see the moment right here and how the speaker responds. Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, growing anxiety among American military families. People lining up for hours outside the food pantry near Fort Hood, Texas. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson confronted on live television by a woman who says she's a military spouse from Virginia.
I have 2 medically fragile children. I have a husband who actively serves this country.
She told Johnson she is outraged that he won't bring the House back into session to pass emergency funding to pay the troops.
As a Republican, I'm very disappointed in my party, and I'm very disappointed in you because you do have the power to call the House back. You did that, or you refused to do that just for a show. I am begging you to pass this legislation. My kids could die. You could stop this, and you could be the one that could say military is getting paid. And I think that it is awful, and the audacity of someone who makes 6 figures a year to do this to military families is insane.
But Johnson blaming the Democrats.
Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are preventing your family from getting the care they need, not Republicans, and my heart goes out to you.
Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says he would support a bill to pay our military troops while the government is shut down. But House Speaker Mike Johnson has made it clear he will not bring the House back into session. And it is worth noting tonight that lawmakers are still receiving their paychecks, even though they are out of town, David.
Rachel Scott live up on the Hill again tonight. Rachel, thank you. There is news just in tonight involving these legal showdowns challenging President Trump's authority to deploy National Guard troops into American cities, Chicago and Portland. Just moments ago, a judge issuing a temporary restraining order now, blocking the deployment of National Guard troops in Illinois. Alex Perez in Chicago tonight.
With members of the Texas National Guard already stationed at this ICE facility outside Chicago.
You guys are on the wrong side of the fence right now.
Tonight, a federal judge granting a partial temporary restraining order on federal troop deployments in Illinois. Justice Department lawyers argue the troops are there to protect federal agents who are being targeted by agitators, claiming there is a danger of rebellion. But the lawyer for the state argued there is no rebellion in Illinois. The Trump administration telling the judge the Guard's mission is not solving all of crime in Chicago. But President Trump today saying they'll bring crime down whether the governor wants troops there or not.
They don't want to have a safe Chicago, and we can solve the problem very quickly. And we're doing that anyway, regardless of if he doesn't want it or if he does want it.
No Trump, no ICE, no troops.
Overnight, protesters taking to Chicago streets. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is vowing to fight aggressive tactics.
Look at what ICE and CBP are doing. They're wearing fatigues. They're carrying long guns, automatic weapons. They're coming to downtown Chicago, Michigan Avenue. What is the purpose of that? It's all a show.
Out west, another hearing about the National Guard in Portland. A Trump-appointed judge seemingly sympathetic to the government.
Here, a facility was actually closed for almost a month, and the record includes more than one, at least 2 attempts to burn the building down.
And tonight, with the growing showdown over sending the National Guard into American cities, one key Republican governor says he does not support Texas' decision to send Guard troops to Illinois. Governor Kevin Stitt of Oklahoma telling the New York Times Oklahomans would lose their mind if Pritzker and Illinois sent troops down to Oklahoma during the Biden administration. And David, that decision from the judge granting that temporary restraining order blocks the deployment of the National Guard across Illinois for at least 14 days. David?
Alex Perez tonight. Alex, thanks. Now to a case making national headlines. A mother accused of trying to poison the father of her child, allegedly pouring antifreeze into his wine. Here's Aaron Katersky.
Tonight, this Connecticut woman is free on $1 million bond after she was charged with attempting to murder the father of her child by pouring antifreeze into his wine, the latest in a number of cases involving antifreeze as a poison. 33-year-old Kristen Hogan and her partner shared this Ridgefield home where in early August, prosecutors say he fell ill and was hospitalized after consuming wine tainted with ethylene glycol, a toxic, often colorless and odorless substance in antifreeze. His mother finding him slurring his speech, staggering around the home and vomiting. The 34-year-old man later telling investigators he believed Hogan poisoned him so she would become the full owner of the residence and would gain full-time custody of their child. Police say Hogan searched the internet for potassium cyanide and monoethylene glycol, as well as how much monoethylene glycol would kill you. Prosecutors say she initially claimed she needed the substance to clean the carpet at her mother's house, but eventually told investigators she never intended to kill her partner, but just wanted to make him sick as payback for him being mentally abusive. Outside court today, her attorney saying these are just allegations.
This case is not what it seems. There's a lot more to this story. Kristen is a loving mother. She cares about her kids more than anything.
Hogan did not enter a plea today, David. As part of her release, she was ordered to undergo a psychiatric evaluation, wear an ankle monitor, and stay away from the alleged victim. She's due back in court in December. David?
Aaron Katersky tonight. Aaron, thanks. Next tonight here, 2 police officers shot and wounded responding to a domestic dispute in Miami. Heavily armed police swarming the scene today. Authorities say the suspect, armed with a high-powered rifle, barricaded himself inside a house for several hours. Police finding the suspect dead in the home. It's unclear if he was shot by police or took his own life. The wounded officers are expected to recover. When we come back tonight, the national case involving shaken baby syndrome. A parent set to become the first person executed for shaken baby syndrome. There's been a major development in this case. Also, look at this, the heart-stopping moments on the highway at night. A young child running down the highway, nearly hit by an SUV. What an officer does in a moment here. And this question tonight, if you drove past this home right here, would you call the fire department? It has a lot of people talking tonight. Tonight, the Texas Court of Appeals has halted what would be the first execution of a prisoner convicted of shaken baby syndrome. Robert Roberson found guilty in the death of his 2-year-old daughter back in 2002. He was scheduled to be executed next week. The defense raising questions about the science used to convict him. Roberson's lawyers insist his daughter died of complications from pneumonia. Tonight, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has opened an investigation into Tesla's full self-driving system. Officials now say they've received more than 50 reports of traffic safety violations and reports of several injuries. ABC News has reached out to Tesla. No comment so far. When we come back tonight, news on a retired NBA legend arrested overnight for DUI. And then that heart-stopping close call on a dark highway, a young child running down the highway. What an officer does to save the child in a moment here. To the index of other news tonight, and the child saved on a Florida highway. A quick-thinking officer saving a young boy in Northport, Florida. That's near Sarasota. The officer spotted the boy running down the middle of the dark highway, nearly getting hit by an SUV at one point. The officer flashing his lights, honking his horn to warn that driver. The officer then pulling over, chasing, and then grabbing the boy. Police say the boy, who has developmental delays, had wandered from his home despite safeguards the family had in place inside their home. We're just glad he is okay tonight. This evening, retired NBA legend Paul Pierce has been arrested in Los Angeles on suspicion of DUI. He played 19 seasons in the league, most with the Boston Celtics, before retiring in 2017. Police say they found him asleep at the wheel of his Range Rover last night and say there were signs of alcohol impairment. When we come back here tonight, take a look at this home. Would you call the fire department if you drove past it? It has a whole town talking tonight in a moment here. Finally tonight here, the home in one heated debate just days before Halloween. Tonight here, the burning question in Fountain in South Carolina, just outside Greenville. If you drove by this home, would you call the fire department? What looks like fire through the window, smoke billowing from the front porch. But keep in mind, Halloween is just weeks away. For years now, Mom Amanda Payton and Dad Sam Lee have been decorating their home, and the entire neighborhood knows they love Halloween. Even hosting a free pumpkin patch in their own yard so that the community can pick out their own pumpkins. But this year, neighbors say they have really outdone themselves.
These decorations are the best.
Their neighbors, husband and wife Hunter and Hannah Bullock.
I thought, do I need to call the cops?
Terrifying in such a good way.
Chris drove in from Greenville.
I feel like I feel heat like from right here, like that's crazy.
What they've done to their home is so convincing, people driving by have actually called the fire department. The family, it turns out, gave the station a heads up.
Good evening, David.
Fountain Inn Fire Department Chief Russell Alexander in on it. He and his fire station actually at the house, using it to film fire safety videos.
I want you to have a couple of ways out of your home.
We're out here doing a little work with the Red Cross, trying to educate the community with some pretty clever decorations.
And joining us too,
hey David,
the mom and dad behind it, Sam and Amanda, on why they love Halloween.
anything we can do to give back to the community and have a little bit of fun on Halloween, we're game.
They are definitely game. It's pretty impressive. By the way, that's North Main Street in Fountain Inn, South Carolina. You don't have to call 911. I'll see you tomorrow.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.